All right, all right, all right. Welcome back. If you're a veteran or you're struggling and feel like you are leading a path towards the darkness, stop and think about those who are around you. Think about how they truly value you, how they will miss you. You are not alone. You need to talk to someone. Someone will listen to you. If you feel like you will be a burden to someone or feel embarrassed to tell your story to one of your friends or family, call the hotline at 988 and press option 1. Don't make a permanent solution to a temporary problem. If you're a new listener, thanks for joining us. Please subscribe to our show on your favorite podcast apps. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel at _MisFitNation. That's _MisFitNation. Subscribe, click the bell. This will keep you up to date with our latest news, episodes, and of course the stories of our guests. Speaking of which, our next guest holds a Bachelor's of Arts in Fine Art from St. Joseph's University. She's completed her Master's in Applied Clinical Nutrition cum laude at New York Chiropractic College in 2017. She's excited to start her own business in nutrition and give power back to the individual. Using her many talents and introducing three main modalities to help her clients feel empowered, happy, and healthy: yoga, customized nutrition consultation, and essential oils. She has worked with clients and been successful in treating and aiding the support of following ailments: Parkinson's, chronic Lyme disease, digestive issues, malabsorption, autoimmune disorders, and more. So without further ado, let's welcome Gina Cerbone, to the Misfit Nation. Welcome, Gina.
Hi.
It's great to have you on. Great that we got connected through a mutual friend and get this thing going. And she said that you'd be great to come on here and talk to our audience, knowing what our audience is made up of: a lot of veterans, a lot of first responders that have been through a lot of trauma and dealing with that pain, and self-medicating and doing things they shouldn't be doing to make it through life after the service and such. So I figured having someone that deals with yoga, wellness, and nutrition angles would help give more tips and tricks to help veterans and those who are afflicted with trauma make it through this. So thanks for agreeing to come on.
Yes, thank you. Thanks for having me.
So if you don't mind, tell us a little bit more about your story than what I just shared. I just read a little tidbit, I guess, of your
Sure.
journey. If you want to add more to it and go as far back as you want to go and bring us to where we are now.
Yeah, so I started yoga when I was in high school. So I was a lot younger and I was stressed out, and my mom's like, you need to go to yoga. And it was like, I guess it was 2003 or so. So it was before it was really mainstream like it is now. And there was this little place that we went to, and I was a dancer, a ballet dancer. So I would go to yoga after my dance classes, and I did it for a while and I liked it. But it wasn't very consistent. It was very superficial. And then again, my mom said, you need to go to yoga. It was after I graduated college, and she was like, you need to do something. And I was kind of like in a time where I didn't, like, you finish college and you kind of don't know what to do. Like, I started work and I did all of that, but I felt like kind of depressed in some ways. Like, I didn't know where I was going. I feel like I always call it like I'm in the beginning of my life crisis. Like, I didn't know what to do. And my mom said, again, you should start doing yoga again. So I went with her to classes, and then it really stuck. And it was beyond just everyone thinks yoga as the physical posture. So like doing the poses that you see, online or in a classroom, but it's very much deeper than that. Like, there's a lot of philosophical texts that you can read, and what we call pranayama or breath work. So going into that more deeply really helped me to kind of feel better.
And now you turned this into your now business using yoga, being a yoga instructor, a nutritionist, and a consultant now, right?
Yes. So the funny thing is, I never wanted to be a yoga teacher at all. So I did my teacher training in 2012, and I told my teachers, I was like, I don't want to do the practicums. I don't want to do the teach in front of everybody. I just want to do this for myself. I want to learn more about yoga. And I don't want to teach. I'm never going to teach, I told them. And they were like, okay, but you still have to do all the practicums. You still have to do everything because you're getting the certification from us. So I was like, whatever. Okay. I was like, not happy about it, but of course I did it. And this is like literally what I do. It's my job. And part of it is because I felt so good in doing yoga, and I wanted to provide that same feeling and help other people feel the same way and kind of take the knowledge. So yoga is a tradition that, dates back thousands of years. So it started as an oral tradition. It's been written down, some things, and I wanted to take that tradition because I learned it from my teachers and continue to teach others what I know, because it helped me so much. And I know it's helped others, because even throughout the years, you don't get people telling you all the time, but once in a while I'll get a letter here and there, an email here and there of how much yoga has changed their life for the better. And so it makes it all the better doing it and teaching.
I'm sure it does. I'm sure in your, if you have a studio, I guess, if you have the same core people, you see their smiles every time you do a session with them, and you see them becoming better people as you do as well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Exactly.
That's got to be helpful. And all this because your mom said you got to do the yoga.
Yeah.
Twice.
My mom said I had to do yoga.
So you did it. I mean, you listened. That was good. A lot of people would have said, I'm not doing yoga. I'm going to go work at Burger King. That's better. I'll show you.
Exactly.
So with like when I got out of the military in 2015, one of the other misfits got out at the same time, Raymond Bird, and the Wounded Warrior Project pushed us to yoga. And being the type of guys we were, we went into that yoga thing not knowing what yoga was really. We knew like pictures and stuff we've seen, but we took everything that they told us to do in the studio as a challenge. So if they said do this move, we challenge each other to do it to the longest. Who can do it longer? Who can look like they're in more pain? And by the end, we did a headstand on our first day. But that was the last time me and him ever went to yoga. So I'm sure there's a reason why Wounded Warrior Project wanted us to go there, but it didn't transpire the way they wanted. So if you could share how yoga can help those dealing with the PTSD or any other kind of trauma to kind of release that through the practice of yoga.
So there are a few different styles of yoga that you can do, and you might have been in like something like what they call a flow class, where you do posture after posture. It's linked with the breath, and it's more of a flowing class. So that's also a good way to help, reduce stress and things like that. But there's also restorative yoga. There's yin yoga. I think restorative yoga could be a good modality, just because it's more of a place of rest. So you set up the student, or I would set up the student, or, you can read books about it too, or go online and you can do it yourself. But you put the student in the posture, you come into the posture, and you're fully supported by all of the props. So your head's supported in a certain way, like all your bones are supported so that your body can then release and relax. And we hold a lot of tension in our bodies, especially if you've gone through a lot of trauma. And you know how like dogs and animals shake and like, kind of let it go after, a rustle or something. They release all that trauma. They don't hold it in. And so in some ways we have to kind of let go in that way as well. And this is a good way to do it, where you'll be in the posture and you'll stay there for like 10-15 minutes, and you'll just kind of relax into it. And as you relax into the posture, if you're set up really well and you're so supportive and comfortable, you begin to find the space between you're not like awake, but you're not asleep. You find this mellow place. And sometimes, like, even if there's noise around you, the noise feels like so far off in the distance. Like you can't really, hear it. It's like there, but not. And so that can help you release the tension that you're holding on to, that you don't necessarily need to hold on to anymore. And so that's like, one style of yoga that might be helpful, as well as what I was talking about before is what we call pranayama, or breath work. So it's concentrating. So our breath can be involuntary, right? So when we're sleeping, we're breathing, because otherwise we wouldn't be here, right? So we have to breathe, but we're not concentrating on it. But it can also be voluntary, where you are concentrating on the breath and you're breathing in and out through the nose, which is really also an important aspect of breath work. Because breathing through the mouth can actually cause other issues and problems within the body. I don't know if you've ever heard of the book Breath by James Nestor. It's really great, and he begins to kind of break down what the breath does for you, how it works for you. But anyway, I'm going off topic. So the breath work, going back to that, you can control the breath by breathing in, say, to the count of 4. You can start kind of smaller, and then breathing out to the count of 6. So your exhalation is longer than the inhalation, and that exhalation, the longer exhalation, will help to release the nervous system. So instead of the flight or flight, you're in the rest or digest. So you're kind of calming the body and bringing it back to this calmness. So I think that could be a real helpful tool as well, is just concentrating on the breath. And it doesn't have to be for very long. You can do it for 5 minutes. And I always tell my students, if you're using some sort of breath work, something specific, and they say to breathe this way, but you're like hyperventilating, then always stop and, go into your normal rhythm and then come back to that breath work. Because sometimes it takes a little bit to get used to breath work and moving through that.
So definitely don't go into it as it's a challenge. Go into it as
right.
a base to make yourself better.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
So combining the two of them is actually a good practice to do, perform yoga and breath work at the same time, or even separate them during the day. Do yoga in the morning, breath work in the afternoon. Would that help a person go through it?
Yeah, so sometimes in a class, you might do some certain specific styles of breath work. There's a few different ones, how you, like I said, it's a voluntary concentrating on the breath, something like the inhale to 4, exhale to 6, but you can do it separate too. Like within yoga, when you're practicing, you're concentrating on inhales and exhales. But when you're doing the pranayama or the breath work, you might be doing a specific type of breath work that you would do separate from the asana or the physical practice of moving through postures.
Okay. And you mentioned books twice, books on breath work and books on yoga. Are there any that you would recommend people to buy?
So the one book that I love, that I think it gives like a good story. So a lot of books like this could be more of like, your nonfiction, just giving you what yoga is, that kind of thing. The book is called How Yoga Works by Geshe Michael Roche. And this book is like a story about yoga. So what we call the Yoga Sutras, they were compiled by Patanjali a long time ago. And so they're really just verses that we go by. And so this book takes in those Yoga Sutras and threads them throughout the book, but it's written as a story. So I think it really hits, I don't know. I like a good fiction book that you can get into and really like, it's kind of like catching and you can't wait to turn the page and figure out what happens to the characters. So it's fiction, but it brings in the Yoga Sutras and it really has like a learning point to it. So I think that's a really great book. And like I said, Breath by James Nestor is the second one that I'm not actually finished reading. I have like a little bit left of it, but it's really great because it talks about the breath. It's not a yoga book per se, but it's talking about the breath and how important it is, especially breathing through the nose, and how breathing through the mouth can lead to a lot of problems within the body too.
Oh, that's good stuff there. And books, especially if it's like a textbook, I'm not going to read it. Right. So it's going step by step how to do yoga. I'm just probably going to look at it once, and it's going to wind up on my shelf over here. Like you said, it tells you a story. Most people will be compelled to stay in there and read it as much as possible, probably once or twice to make sure they got it all, and then start practicing. So I think that's a much better way to do it for me and you, of course. So, and How long do you think it would take for someone to start seeing the change in how they feel, as far as holding all that stress and tension in from trauma or whatever in them once they start practicing?
So I think that's really dependent person to person. However, like testimonially and what I've heard from people, it could be like one class that they just feel amazing. And after that class, they're like, I need to come back. Or someone, one of my students, she was saying early on when she started, she was taking yoga. It might have been like a week or two. And she's like, I'm addicted. Like, I just need to come back because I feel so good after I leave here. So I think it's really person to person, but I think you can really see an effect right away. And keep in mind, you know, some of the classes, yoga classes, can be a challenging class, and to not be discouraged by what you can't do, because people always tell me I'm not flexible. Not that's like one of the most said things to, I guess, like be deterrent to do yoga is I'm not flexible. I mean, I heard it today. Someone told me that today. They're like, I'm not flexible. I can't do it. But that's not the point of yoga. You will gain flexibility through doing yoga. And some of the postures are a little pretzel-y and things like that. But there's so many different options. And the classes I teach, some of them are more challenging. Some of them are easy. Like I said, some are restorative classes where you're just laying there, not really moving, just supported. But you can find a class and a style that really suits you. And just like look around, take a bunch of classes, take a bunch of teachers, find what's called to you and what you feel good with. Because sometimes the first class might not do it. It might be like too challenging or too hard, and you didn't realize that it was really quick and you don't know any of the poses and you can't keep up. So really find something that's going to call to you, and it might not be in your first class. So keep that in mind.
And I think like anything you do, even if you go into a doctor, if you don't like them the first time, you're not going to go back to that person. Right. So you have to find the one that works for you as an individual, has the personality that matches your personality, mm-hmm. and the aura that makes you feel like you're welcome there. And I think that helps out a lot as well.
Yeah, exactly.
See, I'm learning here. It's good. So we talked about yoga and breathing, and you're also a nutritionist. And I think nutrition has a lot to do with wellness as well, because the more you put good stuff in you, the better you feel as well. And I think that's the whole mind-body approach. And I think all three things you do does that same thing for people. Have you seen that help as well?
Yeah, I think so. So I feel like nowadays fast food is very much like around us, or just finding something that you can eat on the way, or something quick to eat, something easy to make, something out of a box, those types of things. However, the more processed the food, like, so say, you know, you're looking at the ingredients of the box and you see the oils in it are like vegetable oils and things like that are actually not as good for your body as like olive oil or, you know, avocado oil or those type, because they can cause more inflammation. They're processed by using chemicals, and we don't want that coming into our system because they can affect hormones. And then hormones really regulate a lot within the body. So it can affect mood and sleep and really everything. Or if you're eating a lot of sugar, you can see that the increase of sugar can also disrupt the hormones, especially insulin, or inulin. And then inulin can disrupt testosterone and all of the other hormones that are helping regulate other things within the body. So it's really like a cascade effect of what you eat can really affect how you feel, how you sleep. Do you sleep well or don't you sleep well? You know, all kinds of things. So it definitely is, you know, one-to-one, and what you put in your body and how you're going to feel.
It's kind of like a car. If you treat it right, it'll treat you right, I think. So
exactly.
you'll make it to that destination you want to go to, or as long as you want to go, that it'll help you out a lot better. But a lot of people need that little nudge to get out of the, like you said, the convenience of driving past a McDonald's or Chick-fil-A and saying it's much easier to stop there than go through the grocery store and walk through the green side and buy fresh stuff.
Exactly. So a lot of times I'm a vegan, so I don't eat meat. So I go to the grocery store, I stay in the vegetable section, I get some grains, and then like I'm out of there. Like the quickest shopping. But having a lot of vegetables, then um, you know, even easy things like, instead of getting, I mean, I like donuts and I like cookies and I have a little sweet tooth too, but a lot of times I won't buy that. I live alone, so that could, if you have kids and things like that, they might want those snacks, but, grabbing pears and bananas and peaches and grapes, those are, naturally sweet with all the fiber that help to, um, absorb in the body and digest and use the sugar that's within the fruit more long term than like if you have like a Snicker bar and you'll be like really high and have a lot of energy and then like crash because you have that sugar high. So yeah.
The definite sugar rushing takes you up and down, kind of like drugs or alcohol, brings you up and down real quick, and then you have to
Mm-hmm.
keep fighting to get that same high again. It's kind of
Mm-hmm.
an endless cycle for you. So
Yeah.
my daughter was a junior in high school. She became a vegetarian when I wasn't home. I was in Afghanistan. So on the phone, I was like, we're meat eaters. We don't do that. We don't. That's not us. And so I just when she did, I wanted to support her as well. So I started reading how to cook for a vegetarian, how to make sure she gets the right amount of proteins to keep playing soccer and have all the energy she needs to do. So I learned all of it, but I was still hard headed against it. And it wasn't until last year I got diagnosed with the alpha gal syndrome, where I got bit by a tick and I can't have anything that comes from hoofs or feet. So any red meats or anything like that anymore. And
Oh.
I'm also allergic to omega 3 and allergic to fish. So that's fish and then peanuts as well. So I have a lot of things I'm allergic to now. So I'm down to chicken is about the only meat I can eat. So I eat meat and a lot of vegetables now, thanks to her.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Wow,
So
I've never heard of that before.
there was
That's
another guy in my
crazy.
office who had it, and I laughed at him, and then I got it. So I guess it was karma. But
Oh.
I guess it was a blessing and a curse and a blessing. So I'm down to chicken now.
Oh wow.
So I too can shop very quickly. Just one more aisle.
Chicken and vegetables.
Eventually, that's it. Like 2 turns, and you should be out of there, except for lines and maybe talking to a friend in the store.
Yeah.
So, if someone wants to get in contact with you, Gina, how would they do that?
So I do have an email and a website. So you can find me on Instagram at Spoonful of Om. And then my website is spoonfulofom.com. And then my email is gggigicerbone@gmail.com.
Well, that's simple right there. And if you can give someone 3 tips to just make the turn to start becoming better, a more, I guess, clean lifestyle, what are those 3 tips you would give them?
So one is something I read recently. I think it was a trainer that had said this. And I thought it was really profound. You don't have to do everything all at once, but they had told the group of people to get dressed, go to the gym, or no, go to the gym, get dressed in your gym clothes, get changed, and go home. So, like, you just have to start, even if it's not actually getting on the machine or going for a run or eating the vegetables or whatever it is. Like, just get it in your mindset that you want to do it and then go from there. So that's number one. And then two, like I said about yoga, is trying different styles of yoga, try different teachers, um, because it's not a one size fits all. You might like something like a yin yoga class, which is also more of a stillness type practice. You might want to do more meditation rather than the postures. You might want to do a class that is very active and you're flowing really quickly and it's a lot more challenging and that's your thing. So try different things like that. What's the third one? I guess give yourself some grace, right? We tend to, be harder on ourselves than we would be to like friends or family that might ask for advice or be coming to us. We might be really helpful to them, very kind to them. Well, be kind and give yourself that same grace that you might give a friend.
We're definitely our worst critics, and that's great advice. All 3 tips are great advice. Misfit Nation, make sure you heed that advice and visit Gina's website, and it'll be in the show notes. It was also on the screen as she was speaking, so if you've seen it, you probably could have took a picture of that, or it's in the notes. You can also click it and go through it. Gina, thank you for taking some of your time and agreeing to come on and hang out with the Misfit Nation.
Thank you so much for having me. It was awesome.
Appreciate you. Thanks for checking us out and being part of the Misfit Nation. Don't forget to visit our website at themisfitnation.com to catch up on all our episodes, including this one, and to get some Misfit Nation gear or buy our book. As always, be humble, stay hungry, and keep hustling, because we are
Misfit Nation.